I think in terms of collecting politics, if you can put it that way, that's what the Germans call it, the politics of collecting, that, you know, it's always good to look for an area, as Mark is hinting, where you can afford to buy because it's nice to get moving. Once you have the passion, you start because you have the passion, that develops more passion, and then you want to keep going. And it's, for a real collector, it's impossible to draw a fence around what you're going to do. But for most of us who are not enormously wealthy, you kind of palpitate back and forth between focus so that you can do something serious. So you sort of focus on a theme or a period or an artist or a type or a style or a subject matter. And then suddenly you're entranced by something outside of that focus. And so you have to move out again. So you move back and forth between the focus and the general. And I very much enjoyed my first visit to some great collectors who are sitting in the room here, and I had understood in advance that they collected portraits or head studies, especially of women. So going around their collection and seeing these wonderful, marvelous examples of really across a broad range of centuries and schools and artists, excellent things. And then we went round the corner into another room, and suddenly there were landscapes. Landscapes! Oh, well, we saw this and we loved it, and we had to have it. And I think that's basically, that's the right kind of movement back and forth between having a focus so that you can do something serious, as it were, but then having the openness and the emotional response to beautiful works of art so that you don't limit yourself and your focus.
Just to follow up a bit on what Amy said, or to suggest a way that other institutions might be able to do this, something we do at Yale, where we actually are very fortunate to have a strong art history department, a very strong art school, and a wonderful museum. We in the curatorial department of prints, drawings, and photographs buy works specifically designated for the winners of, for the writers of the best essay or paper in their art history courses to choose from. And some of these wonderful itinerant dealers still come around. Jim Bergquist, who was here last night, I haven't seen him today, and some others, and who still have prints at a relatively low level, not $6, but we buy them, and we try to have a great variety so that students who might like be interested in antiquities or in Asian or whatever will be able to choose. But then at the end of the year, the ones who are chosen for the prize, and it's, I forget, it may be as many as 6 or so, is it? Come and choose among these works. So this is a model that certainly could be followed in other places.
Monroe has asked how many powerful collections there are in the world right now. Private. Well, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
No, more than that.
If I just think of the listing of the exhibition catalogs for this famous piece in Master Drawings, for which he's going to do me an essay, you know, it's huge. I mean, the Morgan Library, the National Gallery, Chicago, yeah, Boston, Fogg, and it is a phenomenon that is of longer duration. And more extensive in this country, but it's catching on in Europe as well. And there are exhibitions of private collections. There have been some at the British Museum, at the Louvre, at the Rijksmuseum, in museums in Germany. So it's, if you tot it all up, there are a lot. I mean, we may never ever get to the point. Recently, I did a count of the number of known collections of Dutch drawings there were in the Netherlands in the 17th century, and there were 400. 400 known named collections of drawings, and we know that from exhibition catalogs or marks or sales. But it is a boom. It is a boom period for drawings, and I think we have all benefited from it. President Christ asked last night, how is it that there's been such a rise in activity since the 1990s? I think there are various reasons for that, but I think we've more or less run out of time. I think Jessica probably needs to say. And I think, in a way, we just simply want to celebrate. We want to celebrate the success. We want to celebrate that synergy, the cooperation, the collaboration, the benefit that we all, as public and private individuals, derive from the phenomenon and the passion for drawings.
And I would say, above all, because it comes back to this, particularly in the case of the present collector, the private pleasure that you have in the works of art. I think really beyond the footnotes and the attribution and all that sort of stuff, you know, you collect because you're not investing, you're attracted by something and you learn something from it. And of course, speaking as an old philosopher, it gets very messy when you try to say, what do you get out of a work of art? But believe me, you do get basic humanistic values, and those values are very poignant when you own privately a work of art, and you see it every day hanging on your wall, and you pass it, and you look at it, and you learn from it, and you see more in it again and again and again. I'm a big proponent of private collecting, not of reproductions, but of real works of art, because I think they do have, as Walter Benjamin said, they have an aura about them which does transcend their image. They are an image, but they also have something real about them. And I remember before I became a collector, walking down the hallway of a young faculty member at Princeton, where I went back to graduate school, and seeing something on the wall which looked pretty good. It was an Old Testament subject. I thought, that's great. And asked him what it was, and he said it was a Rembrandt, and this and this and this. And I said, oh, that's great. Where is the original? He said, this is the original. What? You know, the light bulb goes on, and then you begin to ask questions. How did you do this? You mean it's in private hands? You mean it's not all in museums? You mean you can own this? You mean you can have it on your own wall? My God, where'd you get it? What did you pay for it? And so forth. So those are the issues connected with the delight in seeing again and again a work of art from which you enjoy, from which you learn, and in that strange, contradictory fashion, as you get more and more the desire to have in your own home, in your own space, real works of art, you simultaneously come to understand that you're only one point along the way, and that those works of art have come from somewhere and will go somewhere after you. So it's a wonderful thing, but the emotional, intellectual advantages from possessing real works of art, I think, are extraordinary. And if you haven't had the experience yet, try it. For all of us who have had the experience, it's absolutely clear what an enormous difference it makes in our lives.
Well, I think very many people in this room have been impacted by what we used to call Art 101. I'd like to see a show of hands. Well, this is a course that was so wonderful, and it became baggage that we have carried with us for our entire life. It has been a very useful subject in that respect. I think if we want young collectors, we want to teach them something about the history of art so that they don't just walk into a gallery cold. They walk in because they feel confident that they can at least look and maybe say a few words that indicate they have some knowledge. I think we can be very proud of Smith College for having this wonderful art department. It is world-renowned, and I think we owe a lot of it right now to Craig Felton, who is carrying on the one art, what is it called now? 140. Because you are training many people who don't even know that they're going to become collectors or that they're going to travel. It is one of the most wonderful subjects, And I, for one, thank this college very much for this.
So I'm Jessica Nickel, the Director and Chief Curator of the Smith College Museum of Art. It's my job to wrap things up, but I can't resist chiming into this conversation about nurturing an interest in collecting just to say 3 words about the additional teaching that's happening in this area here at Smith these days. There are a number of wonderful courses that have been added to the curriculum in the context of a new program called a Museums Concentration that encourages students to look at the history of museums and their cultural role and the theory that guides their work. Professor Barbara Kellum, who's been with us this weekend, has developed a wonderful and wonderfully popular course on collecting and display that brings students into contact with the incredible range of special collections across the 5 colleges. And it seems to be a course that is attracting people who identify themselves already as collectors. And then April Gallant, the curator of the current show at the exhibition, at the museum, has developed a wonderful course called Collecting 101 that actually brings students into the process of studying how museums define what it is that they collect in order to support their missions and how they go about that work. And the students in this course, actually, their culminating project is to identify prints that they think would be strong acquisitions for the museum and to research and write purchase proposals. And we acquire one work based on the most compelling proposal made by the students. And Shama Rahman, who's been helping us this weekend, has had the benefit of taking this course. So we're doing our best to feed the flames of future passion in collectors. I want to thank all of our speakers this weekend: Nicholas Turner, Hugo Chapman, Suzanne McCullough, Jane Turner, Andrew Robison, Mark Brady, and Craig Felton for sharing your extraordinary talent and commitment to the study and preservation of a pivotal era in Western art. I truly appreciate your providing not only your expertise, but a wider view for students to understand the diversity of roles and sometimes complex relationships that sustain a cultural narrative that may at first appear monolithic. Yet, as we've heard and seen, it's the diverse and private passions of human beings that drive our higher achievements as creators and as stewards. I'm honored to gratefully acknowledge the generosity of the collector highlighted and drawn to excellence, without whose passion we could not have convened this symposium. Her gift to us is ongoing. As Craig Felton so adroitly presented, I'm certain that the discussion we began here today will continue in our classrooms over the next year. I particularly look forward to exploring students' thoughts in the Museums Concentrations course that I have the pleasure of teaching. I'm also pleased to announce that Collecting Drawings launches a year-long focus at the museum on collecting. I invite you to return this spring when we'll celebrate the 100th anniversary of the museum's permanent collection of Asian art with the exhibition Collecting Art of Asia. Lastly, I want to give special thanks to Maggie Lind, our Associate Educator of Academic Programs, who's so graciously stepped into the role of technical whiz today to keep us running and to keep us audible. I thank you all for coming from Paris and London to New York and to Northampton. We hope you enjoyed your stay and will come back often. And we remind you that the museum's open today until 4 and that admission is free with your badges. Thank you.